If you're finding it hard to sell your services, to have clients say, yes, I'm in, to especially to your front end services, but this is also for your back end services. If you're finding yourself having to do a lot of selling, a lot of marketing, a lot of building out of a funnel, and to kind of pre-sell people with a bunch of content. Um, the biggest reason that I've seen that happens, it's because your offer is confusing. And people who are confused don't buy very easily. It takes a lot of convincing, a lot of selling, a lot of marketing to sell an offer that's confusing. And most people's offers are very confusing. They're muddled with all kinds of things that cause potential clients and prospects to have to think about things, to have to overthink about what's what they're getting. Is this right for them? And that just makes a lot more work for you or your team when it comes to marketing and sales. It also makes delivery hard because the people that are coming in aren't exactly sure what they're getting themselves into, right? So that makes delivery harder because typically you're going to have to scramble to try to make the experience great for this person because they don't know exactly what they're getting into. Um, I have a client right now who's building out a community. One of the best ways to leverage your delivery and to help clients is to have a community of clients where you're the leader of the community. They care about each other in this community. They're helping each other. And this is an amazing way to serve clients if you like doing that. So she's building out this community. And we were looking at the about page on the community. This is where people go if they're going to join. And so now we're looking at her offer to join the community. And it was very confusing. It was muddled with all sorts of sort of flowery language, like internal states of, freedom and breakthrough and, these kind of buzzwords in the personal development world. So, if you have all these buzzwords from psychology, from personal development, from the success world, these buzzwords really don't mean anything to people, especially when they're inspirational if you're looking at an Instagram post. But if you're thinking about pulling your wallet out to pay for something and invest in yourself through someone's services, those kind of vague, buzzworthy words actually stop people from doing that. It makes your offer very confusing. So we were looking at this, and it was really interesting because it was very simple for us to look at her offer and the messages on this page and change them to get them to be very clear, very easy for the right people to say yes. And typically that means you're making, in your offer, you're going to be making some kind of a promise. What's the promise? What's the goal that this person has in working with you? And what's the small promise you're making to them that they're going to get in working with you? You want to have that be right front and center. So my client did have her promise on this offer page, but it was halfway down and it was, surrounded by a bunch of buzzy language that sort of made it hidden. It wasn't clear what the promise really was. And whenever I look at offers, that is one of the biggest things I see. It's not clear what the promise is. What is your promise to this person? Now, another day we can talk about making a really good promise, how you make a powerful promise so that the right people join what you're doing, right? But that's a whole nother topic, right? How do you make a promise so that the right people want to be involved in what you're doing? But for today, we want to know the promise has to be right up front, has to be clear. People have to know exactly what that is. You should be impossible to misunderstand on what that promise is. That's one of my guiding principles in looking at people's offers and their messages is it impossible to misunderstand what the promise is? So you have this promise. It's right up front. The next thing people are going to look for is how are you getting them there? How are you going to get them to this goal, to this promise? And you want to make it very clear, what is your uncommon way of getting them there? Again, most people have this buried down, some page or down, way further into a conversation. And it's not clear what the way we're going to get there is. Again, a whole nother topic is, well, how are we getting them there? How do we describe how we're getting them there? Because people need to see that you have a different, desirable, uncommon way to get them there. If you're saying the same thing everybody else is, it's going to be very hard. Again, you're going to have to do a lot of marketing and selling to get people to say yes to that. But when you have a very clear promise that's impossible to misunderstand right up front, and then you have a very clear, desirable, new, uncommon way that you're going to get people there, that is the start of a really great offer, right? So look at all your copy, your messages, your offers. Think about your conversations with people. Where are you not doing that? Where is your offer confusing? And when you fix that, it makes marketing and selling a lot easier, a lot simpler, takes a lot of time off of the marketing and selling that you're doing. And it actually does make delivery easier because people come in to work with you with the proper expectation of what the promise is, how we're getting there.